How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chav Ches, Daf Koiches of Masechta Gittin, Daf 28 of Masechta Gittin. Friends, today's Daf, again, it's an interesting Daf if you're interested in it. It's one. What do you want me to tell you? What I can tell you is we're going to learn two Mishnayos. I'd say it's relatively interesting. Alright, so we're going to start Daf Chav Ches Amud Aleph, about 8 lines into the page at the Mishnah. Hamevi get, alright, guy brings a get, alright, nothing we haven't heard before. Vinicho zakin o chole, nosin lo bechezka shu kain. Bam. So you have a fellow, he's a shaliach to bring a get, right? Now the thing is, he's bringing it on behalf of somebody who is old, or somebody who is ill. And the shaila is, when the shaliach arrives at the destination and is about to deliver the document, what are the chances that the person who sent him is no longer alive, is in Wellwood? So, again, so maybe get, so if somebody is a shaliach to deliver a get, ve'inicho zakin, but the person who sent him is old, or chole, or sick, nosin la bechezka shu kaim. Nonetheless, the shaliach gives the get, assuming that the sender is still alive. Bas Yisrael anusu lekoyin v'halach bailim dinas hayom. So what if you have a Bas Yisrael who's married to a kohen, okay? And the kohen goes traveling someplace. So can she continue eating truma? What if he dies? Then she won't be able to eat truma anymore. Don't worry, she can continue eating truma, assuming with the chazaka that he's still alive. Similarly, if somebody sends a korban chatos from Chutz La'aretz with a shaliach to bring it to Eretz Yisrael to offer in the temple, makriven also b'chezkas shukaim. So we can offer the korban chatos in the temple, assuming that the sender is still alive, and you bring it on behalf of the person who's sending the korban chatos. Okay, as I said, relatively interesting if you're interested in it. Okay, says the Gemara, Omar Ravi l'shanu el zakin shlo higia l'gvuris v'chole stam. I had that. Sherov cholim l'chaim. Baram. Again, Omar Ravi says Ravi, lo shanu el zakin shlo higia l'gvuris. When we say that if the husband who's sending the get with a messenger, if the husband is a zakin, be'etzem old, so we said that you can assume the shaliach, when he arrives, can deliver the get, assuming that the husband is still alive. Shelo higia l'gvuris, but that's only if he isn't, right? The pasuk says, right? You may boim shivim shana. You may boim shivim shana. I always forget. I always forget. You may ish, you may adam, you may. Who could tell me? You know what? I bet it. Do we have the pasuk on the page? Yemesh nosenu boim shivim shanavim begvura shmonim shana v'rabam abma v'avim. There you go. So it says, right, givuris is begvura shmonim shana. That 80 years betzim. So it says Ravi, if the sender, if the husband is less than 80 years old, so then you can assume that he's still alive. But once he hits 80 years old, then you can't assume that he's still alive when you get to your destination. V'chole, and a regular fellow has the schnuffles. Sherov cholim l'chaim. Most people survive the schnuffles. Aval, zakin shegir l'gvuris, but a zakin who's 80 plus, vigoses, or a fellow that is deathly ill on his last threads, Shirov goses in the mitzvah that most people on their last threads are inevitably going to die, low, then in those two cases you cannot assume that they are still alive when the messenger arrives. Eisvei Abai, but Abai asked a kasha on Rav. Rav, you had said that once a fellow is 80 years old, you cannot assume that he's still alive when the shaliach arrives. But Hamevi get v'nicho zaken, that we have a brayse that says that if a husband sends a get and the husband is old, afilu ben me'ah shana, Even if the fellow's 100 years old, something to do with scent, centurion, a centurion, is that what it's called? A centurion? Nonetheless, the shaliach can deliver the get, assuming that he's alive. So Rava, why are you saying that the cutoff is 80? Apparently he could be 100 years old, and you still assume that he's alive. Tiyuvte, it's taka aguta kasha on Rava. V'bay same, alternatively, you can actually answer for Rava. Ema called the iflig, it came in the iflig. Alternatively, you can answer for Rava. Look, once you get to 80 years, you can't assume that he's going to be alive when the shaliach gets there. But once he gets to 90 years, then already, once you made it this far, we're not going to assume he's just going to, die any minute. So once 80 years old, anything can happen. But once he reaches 90 years old and nothing has happened, so then you're good. Then you're good. What does Rashi say? Even the iflig mishader cholet she'erech yom ad mea shana iflig v'eno kashar adam lios karev l'movus aval ben shmonim ve'achas o yoser ad tishim. Yeah, exactly. Karev l'mosu. Yeah, I thought I had seen the 90. Yeah, exactly. So it says Rashi that between 81 and 90, so then that's risky business. But once you get to 90, you can assume you're going to go weiter. I once saw this interesting thing. Maybe Sharna, you can confirm that when it comes to smoking cigarettes, there's if you hit a certain age or something, certain people, I guess, don't necessarily get sick from it like other people. And if you get to a certain point, then you can assume that cigarettes won't be an issue for you. Is there truth to that? Some kind of genetic kind of thing? I don't know. I feel everything, whenever it comes to cigarettes, it gets walking on eggshells a little bit. But anyways, yeah, my understanding is that cigarettes are not very healthy. Right, so you don't want to talk about cigarettes, right? That's what you wanna. Okay, let's go weiter. All right, let's go weiter. I don't want. It's a certain thing. Let's go weiter. Okay. Fine. Came in the iflig. Oh, Rami lay Abaye le Rabba. So Abaye says to Rabbo, So okay. So Abaye asked Rabbo, Tanana, maybe get vini chozakin ochole nosin lo b'cheska sheukayom pam. So our Mishnah says that if you have a husband who sends a get with a messenger, and the husband is zakin or chole, so when the messenger arrives, you can deliver the get, assuming that he is still alive. We have a contradiction. So Abaye asks Rabbah, he says, but what I don't understand is that we have a brisa that says that if the sort of condition in the get is that the get kicks in 1 hour before the death of the husband, well then she can never eat truma anymore, because you never know, is this the hour before the husband's going to die? So it sounds like we're always concerned, well, maybe this is it. Maybe he's going to die now. So on the one hand, in our Mishnah, we're saying that the shaliach can deliver the get, and don't worry, you don't have to worry that the husband is no longer alive. And yet, we have a different brisa. We have a brisa which says that this is your get 1 hour before the death of the husband. Well, we always have to be concerned. Maybe he's going to die right now. And maybe this is the hour prior to his death. So our Mishnah doesn't seem to be concerned about him dying anytime, yet this brisa seems to be concerned that he can die anytime. So what do we do? So Omar lei truma Gittin koromis, to which Rabbah responds to Abaye, he says apples and oranges. The Mishnah is talking about a get. The brisa is talking about truma. Truma efsher, get lo efsher. That when it comes to truma, so just don't eat truma. I mean, the brisa is saying that if the condition is that 1 hour before the death of the husband, she can no longer eat truma, so she can never eat truma anymore, because look, at the end of the day, so what? So just don't eat truma. Okay, whatever. Maybe he's gonna die. Maybe he won't die. I don't know. But just okay, don't eat the truma. But a get lo efsher, right? By a get, what are we gonna do? Just not give the get? She's gonna be an aguna? That's not really an option. So therefore, when it comes to the get, we're not concerned that he's dead, just give her the get. When it comes to truma, we can be stringent and say, just don't eat truma anymore. V'rami truma truma, to which Abaye is not deterred, and he says, meh, I'm not going to be blown off so quickly, so easily with an apples and oranges situation. If we just look at our own Mishnah, the Mishnah gave 3 examples. One regarding to get, but the other one regarding Truma. Tanan, our Mishnah says, Bas Yisrael hanisua l'kohen, if you have a Bas Yisrael who is married to a Kohen, a Bas Yisrael who's married to a Kohen, and her husband, the Kohen, went traveling someplace, she may continue eating truma, assuming that he is still alive. So we see in our Mishnah, even when it comes to truma, we don't assume that he's going to die, that he's dead right now. But we have a contradiction that we just asked from. That here is your get, and it kicks in 1 hour before the husband dies. She immediately cannot eat truma. She immediately cannot eat truma. So, if you're going to say, yeah, she immediately can't eat truma because okay, so just don't eat truma, say the same thing in the Mishnah. Okay, just don't eat truma. And yet in the Mishnah we're saying that you're allowed to eat truma. So, Amar of Ada, Breder of Yitzchak, Shiny awesome, that it's different by the 1 hour prior to Misa, Shari Osra Olav Sha'achas Kodem Misa. So the difference is that in that case, it's Asur, she's not allowed to eat Truma 1 hour before he dies, meaning why in her lifetime. Right? Sha'achas Kodem Misa. And Rashi says, what does Rashi say? L'olam l'chashin l'misa, v'shani acha shari Osra Mechayim. Sha'achas Kodem Misa. That he's making it 1 hour when he's still alive, and because he's still alive at the time, right, an hour before he dies, so we always have to be concerned about maybe this is the hour. Rashi says that it's not such a stark answer, but we're going to blow it off anyways in a second. But still, how do you know that he's the one who's going to die first? Maybe she's going to die first, in which case the stipulation will never actually be relevant. So let her eat truma whenever she wants. Right? Let her continue eating truma. So rather, Abaye answers that it's taka machokas between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda. That our Mishnah, which says that she can continue eating truma, is like Reb Meir, who's not concerned that he's going to die. Whereas the brisa of 1 hour before he dies is Reb Yehuda, who's concerned that he might die at any time. The Tanan is, we learned in our Mishnah, right? We learned this the other day. Where did we learn this? Yesterday? 2 days ago? 3 days ago? Alright. Somebody who purchases wine from a kuti, and you have to separate trumas and maisros. Omer Shnei Login, Shani Osid Lahafrish, Are in Truma, says the 2 logs of the 100 that I'm going to in the future separate, that's going to be Truma, Asar, Meiser Rishon, 10 parts are going to be Meiser Rishon, Tisha Meiser Sheni, Umecha V'Shosum Miyad, Div Reb Meir. Reb Meir says, look, separate everything that you need to right now, even though you're not separating it right now. He's saying, look, in the future I'm going to separate it. And then, as long as you've kind of said, look, in the future I'm going to be separating, you can start drinking the rest of the wine. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon Osun. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon said, no, you can't do that. And we said that everyone agrees that everyone agrees that there's no problem, technically speaking, with doing this, with saying, look, whatever I'm going to separate in the future is the Trumas and Maisros, and I'm just going to start drinking the wine now. Everyone agrees that that's fine. The problem is, do we have to be concerned that maybe the container of the wine is going to break and you're going to lose all the wine, in which case you're never actually going to end up separating the Trumas and Maisros. Reb Meir is not concerned that might happen, whereas Reb Yehuda and the other Chachamim are concerned that it might happen. So let's say that our Mishnah is Reb Meir, who's not concerned that unexpected things can happen, and therefore we're not concerned he's going to die. And the brisa where 1 hour before he dies, where we said don't eat truma already immediately, that is Reb Yehuda who's concerned that maybe he'll die. Rava Omar Shema Meis Lo Chashin and Shema Yomus Chashin. Rava says there's a difference. In the Mishnah we're talking about maybe he's dead right now, right? Meaning the Mishnah is talking about where the husband goes traveling someplace, and can she eat truma or can his wife eat truma or can't she eat truma? What's the concern? Well, maybe he's dead right now. So Shema Meis Lo Chashin. We're not concerned that he's dead right now. But Shema Yomus. But in the case of that this is going to be her get 1 hour before he dies, well, Shema Yamut, maybe he will die in an hour, in which case it's the hour beforehand. So there we're concerned about. Shema Yamus, Chashinim we're concerned about. Amarle, Ravada by Masna L'Rava, says Ravada by Masna L'Rava, V'ha nod dich Shema Yamus hu uflige. But 1 second, but the wine skin that we're talking about, that it's like Shema Yamus, that maybe it will break in the future. And we're not saying that everybody agrees that we're concerned. Rav Meir isn't concerned. Rav Yehuda Medaskarta shiny notes. Rav Yehuda Medaskarta wants to say no, a node is different, the wineskin is different, and I can understand Rav Meir's opinion that he's not concerned. Devshir Demasur Le Shomer, because you can give it to a guard to guard it to make sure it doesn't break. Maskef Rav Misharsha Arvich Avotzor. To which Rav Misharsha says, yeah, but how do you know that guard is going to be so attentive? Maybe that guard needs another guard for him to make sure that it doesn't break. Like it could still, there's no foolproof method to make sure it doesn't break. Ela Amar Rave, rather says Rave Shema Meis Lo Chashinon Shema Yomus Tanahi. So rather Shema Meis, maybe he's dead right now. Lo Chashinon, we're not concerned. So for our Mishnah, which says that she can continue eating truma, because we're not concerned that he's dead right now. But Shema Yomus, right, that maybe he will die. So that's Taka Machlokas Tanaim. Rabbi Meir is not concerned that he will die, but Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yossi are concerned that he will die. Okay, so it's a machlokas. So the Mishnah had said that somebody who sends a korban chatos from Medina Sayam, so it can be offered assuming that he's still alive. But don't you have to do smicha? A korban chatos, you have to lean on it, and smicha you can't do. The messenger, the shaliach, can't do smicha for him. He has to do it himself. So how can he send the korban chatos? Rav Yosef b'korban noshim, Rav Papa Omer b'chatos hof. We have two options. Rav Yosef says it's talking about a korban noshim, right? That if a woman's bringing a korban chatos, she does not do smicha, so you don't have to worry about smicha. Alternatively, says Rav Papa b'chatos hof. If you're bringing a bird chatos, you don't do smicha on a bird. Okay, fine. Utzricha, and we needed all three cases in the Mishnah. The case of, right, that you give the get, assuming that the husband's alive, that you can eat truma, assuming that the husband's alive, and that you can offer the korban chatas, assuming that the owner is alive. We need all three cases. The ashmu'inon get, if we only have the case of get, mishum de lo efshir, because, okay, you can give her the get and assume he's alive, because what else you can do? Leave her in aguna? Aval truma de efshir, but by truma, where just don't eat truma anymore. Eimalo, I might say just, okay, stop eating truma. V'ashmina truma, and if you say no, even truma she can continue to eat, the zimnin de efshir. Sometimes the taka isn't possible. It is not possible for her to stop eating truma. For example, if she's very poor and she relies upon being able to get free food, to be able to get truma from people. So that could be a problem. So that's why truma, she's allowed to continue eating truma. But I might think that that when it comes to korban chatos, maybe you should not offer the korban chatos, because maybe the owner is dead, and if the owner is dead, then you can't offer that, right? Chatos shemesu baileo, chatos shemes baileo, you have to basically starve it to death. So you can't offer it. So I might think that we have to be concerned that maybe the owner is dead. Tzricha, no, we're not concerned there. In all of those cases, we assume that the sender is still alive. Okay, now we get up to the second Mishnah of the day. Shlosha Devarim Omer Rebbe Lazar ben Parte Lifnei Chachomim v'kimu es divarov. There were three things that Rebbe Lazar ben Parte said before the sages, and they concurred with him. Where am I? Al Irsha Hikifa Karkum, a city that was besieged by a siege. Valasvina mitareves bayam, or a boat that is in stormy waters. Valayotze lidon, and somebody who is being judged for a capital offense. Shein b'cheskes kayamun, we can assume that they are still alive for now. Aval ir shekav shakarkum, but a city that was captured by a siege, that they broke the city. They broke in and they captured the city. Or a boat that got lost at sea. Or a person who is being taken out to be killed. He's already been sentenced and they're taking him out to kill him. In that case, we do not assume that they are alive. We give them the sort of stringencies of live and dead people, which means Bas Yisrael a Kohen. So if you have a Bas Yisrael to a Kohen, so then right, Uvas Kohen Yisrael or a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, in both cases lo tocha b'truma. Right, so the Bas Yisrael who's married to a Kohen, we assume that he's dead, and therefore she can no longer eat Truma. And a Bas Kohen who's married to Yisrael, we assume he's alive, and therefore she doesn't revert back to her father's house where she would be able to eat Truma. We assume that he's still alive, and he's a Yisrael, and she cannot eat Truma because her husband's a Yisrael. So in both cases, in both cases she can't eat Truma. By a Bas Kohen, it's a Chumrei Chaim, and by a Bas Yisrael, it is Chumrei Mesim. Okay. Rav Yosef lo shanu ela bebezdin shel Yisrael. Now says Rav Yosef that we only that when we said that it's Chumrei Chaim and Chumrei Mesim, right? That we say that if he's being taken out to be killed, so then we say it's right. We have stringencies of in some cases we treat it as though he's alive. In some cases we treat him as though he's dead. That's only if we're talking about a Jewish bezdin. But by a bezdin of Ovdei Kochavim, Kevon de Gomer le Dino Liktola Miktol Kat le. Once already there is a verdict that this fellow is going to receive the death penalty, they are going to kill him, there is no chance that he is alive, and we just assume that he's dead. Abai says to Rav Yosef, Bezdin shel Ovdei Kochavim namli mikable shechodo. But Abai says to Rav Yosef, but even by a bezdin shel Ovdei Kochavim, can't you potentially bribe them? And if you do, then he might actually still be alive. Omar lei, to which Rav Yosef says, look, kishakle mikami dilachtom porse shanmuk, that when a bezdin of Ovdei Kochavim would receive a bribe, that would be prior to the sentencing. But the vasar demechtom porse shanmuk loy shakli. But once already there's a verdict, and the verdict is that this fellow needs to die, it's too late to bribe. And therefore you assume that the fellow is dead. Meisve, but we have a kasha. In any place where two witnesses will get up, and they're going to say, Me'idin anu, we are testifying as ish ploni, regarding a certain yid, shenigmar dino bebezdino shaploni, that he was sentenced to death in certain in such and such a bezdin, ufloni edov, and these were the witnesses. Harei ze yehoreg. So we accept the testimony, and assuming that it's we validate it, and then we kill the fellow. But shouldn't we be so we had said that by bezdin shel Yisrael we assume Chumrei Chaim and Chumrei Mesim. But over here we're saying that if these two witnesses testified, look, this guy over here, he was sentenced to death in a certain bezdin, so we kill him. We don't assume that maybe they found some kind of way to make him innocent. Which we say, well, that's not necessarily good proof, because maybe in general we are concerned that they found some way to make him innocent, but in a situation where he ran away, then he's a fugitive, and then we have witnesses who testify about him, maybe in that case we don't assume that there was any reason, he ran away, I guess, to escape the death penalty. We don't assume that there was any zchus there. Tashma, come in here. Shama mi bezdin shel Yisrael, if a fellow hears from a Jewish bezdin, shahayu omrim ish ploni meis ish ploni nerog, that they were saying that such and such a fellow mace, or he was killed. So mace would be, there are certain instances when basically a fellow is chayiv misa, but not by one of the four capital punishments, not by skilas reifa hereg v'chenek. But they just put him in a room and they basically starve him. They basically kill him by giving him a very terrible diet. So that would be ish plani mace. So somebody's going to die in that way. Ish plani nereg, or so and such a person was killed from one of the misos bezdin. Yasiu es ishto. Okay, so we can assume that he's dead, and his wife can get remarried. But if they hear the same thing from the executioners of the Ovdei Kochavim, Ish Ploni Meis, Ish Ploni Nereg, that they say the same thing. So such and such a person was Meis or Nereg. Al Yasiu Es Ishto. We cannot assume that he's actually dead, and therefore his wife cannot get remarried. My Meis or my Nereg. Now when we're saying that they said that such and such a fellow is Meis or Nereg, what does that mean? Ilema Meis, Meis Mamish, Nereg, Nereg Mamish. If it means literally that, he's dead. Well, if that's the case, that you heard from the executioners of the Ovdei Kochavim that he's dead, so why do we say that his wife cannot get remarried? Don't we hold in general then in general when it comes to Masiach Lefitumo, they believe, what does Masiach Lefitumo mean? Masiach Lefitumo means they're just talking without thinking about it, right? Just casually talking. Meaning we're saying that if you overheard the executioners of the Ovdei Kochavim saying that such and such a person is dead, he wasn't testifying, he wasn't, you didn't even know that you were listening. But you just heard the guy say, the executioner say, oh yeah, we killed so and so. So shouldn't we be able to believe him that he's actually dead? So then Elalav Meis Yotze Lamus Nereg Yotze Lahari. Rather, it must be talking about that when we're talking about if the person's dead, it doesn't mean actually dead, because then there would be no difference between the Bezdin of Yisrael or of the Kochavim. It means that he's being taken out to die. And we're saying, and we're saying that if it's a Bezdin Shel Yisrael, his wife can get remarried. We assume 100% that he's dead. So why are we saying that we give Chumei Chaim and Chumei Mason, that we assume that by a Bezdin Shel Yisrael, if Nigmar Dino Lomus, then how come we're assuming that maybe there's a schus? Over here we're saying in this brisa that Yasiu Es Ishto, his wife can get remarried. He's definitely dead. So L'olam Meis Mamish V'nereg Mamish. No, so really it's talking about, they're saying that he's Mamish dead. V'indika Omart D'chavosig Abav D'chov Mamai Lo. But then you ask, but if we're saying that he's Mamish, right, that you overheard them saying that this fellow is Mamish dead, well then there should be no difference between whether it's you overheard this from a Bezdin Shel Yisrael, or if it's the executioners of the Ovdei Kochavim. After all, anybody who's Masiach Lefitumo is just talking, without being self-conscious about it. He's just talking stam, right? You can trust what you hear. So then, if the executioner of the Ovdei Kochavim is stam talking to somebody and saying, "Look, we killed such and such a fellow," we should be able to trust him, and the wife should be able to be remarried. So the difference is that you could trust Masiach Lefitumo if he doesn't have any self-interest in it, if he's not glorifying himself by it. But for the executioner of the Ovdei Kochavim to say, look, we killed so and so, it's a matter of pride. He killed a fellow, so he wants to prove that they mean what they say and they say what they mean and they're administering justice. So he might actually say that he killed the fellow even if he didn't. And therefore, that's why they wouldn't be. So therefore, we're saying that it's talking about where they're mamish saying that the fellow is dead. But there's a difference between a Bezdin Shel Yisrael versus Bezdin Shel Ovdei Kochavim. By a Bezdin Shel Yisrael, if they say he's dead, and therefore the wife can get remarried. But if it's the execution of the Ovdei Kochavim, so then just because he says the fellow is dead doesn't actually necessarily mean that he's dead. Maybe he's actually still alive, but he's just trying to brag, and work himself up and talk about how they killed this fellow even though he's still alive. There are those who say, there are those who say that Rav Yosef says fakert, that when they say that when they say that we give the Chumrei Chaim and the Chumrei Mesim, that is when it's a Bezdin Shel Ovdei Kochavim, aval beBezdin Shel Yisrael, kevin dinofak leidino liktala katlele. But in a Bezdin Shel Yisrael, so then if the verdict is that the fellow needs to die, they're going to kill him. Yes, technically speaking, if they find proof that he's innocent, then we're not going to kill him. But that's rare, and therefore we're not concerned about that case. And therefore, in that case, we would assume that he's dead if it's from a Bezdin Shel Yisrael. Amalei Abai says to Rav Yosef, Bezdin Shel Yisrael nami efshir d'chazule zchusa. But Abai says, yeah, but also by Bezdin Shel Yisrael, they might find some reason why he's innocent. Ki chazule zchusa mikami to l'gmardina. Look, when they find a merit for this fellow, it would be before the verdict. But after the Gmardin, after the verdict, the chances of them finding a merit to save him is slim, and we're not going to assume that that's the case, and therefore you can assume that he's dead. Let's say that this supports this notion that if you have two people are going to get up and they're going to testify that we're testifying about this fellow, that there was a verdict against him in so-and-so's bezdin, and these people were the Eidim, we kill the guy. So we see that when it comes to, right, we're not assuming that, well, maybe there was some kind of merit after the fact. So we see that when it comes to Bezdin Shal Yisrael, if there was a verdict, we assume that the guy's dead. Right, and therefore right now that there's this, with these two people are testifying that he ran away and he was condemned to be killed, so we kill him. But maybe it's different when he's running away because he's a fugitive and he probably was running away from capital punishment. Now you have these two witnesses who are testifying that he was what's it called when in Bezdin they determined that he was convicted and he was verdicted to death, so we kill him, but that's because he ran away. But that's not necessarily proof that in general, when there's a verdict, we assume that he's dead. If a fellow over here is from a Bezdin Shal Yisrael, show you omrim that they were saying ish plani meis, ish plani nerag, that so and so is dead. Right, so and so is mace or so and so is nerag, yasiu es ishto, then his wife can get married. You can assume that he's dead. Minkoman trisim shel of the kochavim, but from the executioners of the kochavim, ish plani mace, ish plani nerag, right, the same testimony that so and so is mace or nerag, al yasiu es ishto, we cannot. His wife cannot remarry because we don't know that he's necessarily dead. My mace or my nerag. What does it mean that he's mace or nerog? Ilim a mace mamish nerog mamish. If it means that he's mamish mace or nerog, the kavose gabi of the kochav mamaya yasiu es ishto. But if that's the case, then by of the kochavim that he's mamish dead, so then why can't his wife get remarried? But we say that if he's mesiach lefitumo, we should be able to trust him. And if the executioner is saying that so and so is dead, we should assume that he's dead. Elalav mace yotze lamus v'nerog yotze lehareg. Rather, it must be that when it says mace and nerog, it means that they've been convicted and condemned to misa, but they haven't necessarily, right? And because if that's the case, we can assume that they're dead. V'katani bebezdin shal Yisrael yasiu es ishto. We're saying that in the bezdin shal Yisrael yasiu es ishto. So there you have it. That if he's convicted and the verdict is he's going to die, so then we can assume he's dead if it's a bezdin shal Yisrael. Olam meis mamish v'nereg mamish. To which we say no, it's actually talking about, they're saying that he's actually dead. If that's the case, then why by Ovdu Kochav do we assume that he's not, right? We can't assume that he's dead and that his wife can get remarried. But I thought we said, right, in general we say if it's Mesiach Levitumo, like over here where the executioner is simply saying that, he killed so and so, he should be believed. No, we only trust Mesiach Levitumo, but something that they aren't priding themselves in. But when it comes to, the executioner of the Kochavim talking about who he killed, so then he's taking pride, in which case he might actually say that he killed somebody who isn't actually dead, therefore his wife cannot get remarried. But by Bezdin Shal Yisrael, if they say that he's dead, we can assume that he's dead. Friends, that was the Avchav Ches of Masechta Gittin. I hope you enjoy. Peace out.